There's a lot in this video. There's a lot of what I want to talk about in this video. Things just didn't, they were all too convenient. They didn't quite make sense. So I had to start asking questions. And the first one I asked was, well, why the heck isn't Ukraine part of a member of NATO yet? So I had to go and dig into that. And I found out some very interesting things. And, you know, there's good reasons that they're not a member of NATO. And there's good reasons that they weren't just admitted as an emergency member because of what was going on over there. We've all been trained to despise Russians, the Soviet Union, anything connected with that. Or at least my generation was. I grew up in the Cold War era. You know, we were taught to mistrust Russians, so it was an easy sell for most of us when when they started telling us that what was going on, and you know how, oh, this is all Putin, and Ukraine's such a goody-goody nation, and we all need to support the Ukraine. You know, I had to go and dig a little bit deeper, and man, there's a lot of stuff going on over there. It's not as clean and pure as they'd like you to believe. So then I had to start looking at Zelenskyy himself. Well, the first thing I found out was Zelensky's got quite an interesting career history. He's got a law degree, but he's also an actor and a producer and a director, and he's into all this theatrical stuff and productions, and so he's pretty good at spinning a story. And I gotta say, he's been doing a pretty good job on us, But then when you start digging deeper and seeing what's going on in the Ukraine, and man, this video came across my path where, it said it was a massacre. What it was called was Zelensky's Massacre. It was a horrible video. I've included it here at the end. I've kind of blurred out some of the worst parts, but it's pretty nasty. And it came with a report that it was people that were trying to escape the fighting and leave Ukraine, and under Zelensky's orders were massacred. I don't know if it's true or not. But man, when I start looking at all the other stuff that is true, it really makes me wonder.
In Ukraine, this year alone, the National Police opened 217 criminal proceedings connected to modern-day slavery. Ukrainians most often find themselves in trouble while seeking employment in Russia, Poland, and Turkey.
So I did some digging, and I found out there's a lot of human rights violations going on over there. And so then it begs the question, well, why don't you hear about them? The media, right? Well, guess what? One of the biggest human rights violations is there's no freedom of the press. If anybody expresses an opinion that goes against what the government wants you to believe, you get jailed, tortured, killed, disappeared, all kinds of fun stuff. So here's this video. Have a look. There's lots of information. It's all reputable information, UN reports, accurate reports. I'm not making anything up or pulling anything from the left, or the weirdos, or I don't know. It's worth asking questions, though. Ask the questions. Do your own research. Don't just go on what I say. But this is a good place to start. Have a listen. Have a look. Go do some digging of your own. Have a good day.
I only have a minute left. Let me ask you, does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian troops, Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
I'm sure you're aware that the Russian propaganda groups are already putting out there all kinds of information about how they've uncovered a plot by the Ukrainians to release biological weapons in the country and with NATO's coordination. If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
These days, corruption in Ukraine is all over the news. But for Ukrainians, corruption isn't new. It's old. And it's not just among the bigwigs and businessmen. It's kind of everywhere. And your average Ukrainian is remarkably open about it.
Всім привіт, мене звати Олег, я громадянин України, і я в своєму житті стикнувся з корупцією. Тобто я заплатив хабар у розмірі $1300 для того, щоб не піти в армію.
10 років тому я ще студенткою, будучи, працювала в міністерстві. І от коли купа була дуже велика, мене попросили, запропонували з нижньої папки перекласти наверх, щоб міністр розглянув швидше і вирішилось питання швидше. Я це зробила і отримала компенсацію $800.
Давав хабаря дорожній поліції декілька разів. Вчора я заплатив хабар за навчання, тому що потрібно працювати 7 днів на тиждень і немає змоги відвідувати навчальний заклад. Було заплачено $200. В принципі, звичайна ціна за хабар в навчальних закладах.
human trafficking, from involuntary labor to sex slavery. Through force, fraud, and coercion, people everywhere are being bought and sold against their will. It's the fastest growing criminal industry in the world. So where does Ukraine stand? What are the statistics for Ukraine? How serious is this issue with human trafficking?
Yes, unfortunately, there is no strict statistics about trafficking because the nature of this crime is very hidden. But different international global organizations are telling and sharing different statistics about the trafficking globally, which is from starting with 27 million people in slavery right now, up to 40 million. But in Ukraine is unfortunately in the middle of this because Ukraine right now is the country of destination for trafficking.
Destination?
Yes.
Wow.
So foreigners can be trafficked to Ukraine as well. It's the country of source country when the Ukrainian citizens are being brought somewhere abroad to other countries for exploitation, and also the transit country because we are in the middle of Europe, and of course the borders are open now, and also there is a domestic slavery in Ukraine as well. So this tells us that Ukrainian citizens can be trapped into slavery within the country.
So what are some of the most common forms of human trafficking? Because people are very familiar with say sex slavery or for sex trafficking, but there are a lot of different types of slavery. So what are some of the most common ones we see that Ukrainians suffer from? You did mention servitude.
Yes. Exactly. So, for example, if before we thought that human trafficking or modern day slavery equals sex slavery, and only girls and young women were suffering, but now the nature of trafficking changes, and basically we can say that in Ukraine more than 50% of victims of trafficking are men and young male.
Does this have to do a lot with forced labor kind of working situations?
Exactly. Yes. This is related to the labor exploitation in Ukraine and abroad. And there are some trends in Ukraine.
The illegal trade in human organs is thriving in Ukraine, and authorities are struggling to bring the problem under control. The country's medical infrastructure means it's still too difficult for people to get hold of vital body parts through legitimate means, meaning many turn to the black market. RT's Censorship takes up the story.
Yelena's father died in March last year. However, a couple of months ago, she received a surprising call from the local police.
The police told me that my father's eyes were removed from his body to be sewed, as if they were from a donor. We didn't notice anything at the funeral, as those who did it disguised their actions. I was told that the morgue employees did that, not the doctors, and that a total of 190 dead had their organs removed.
International organizations and banks consistently rank Ukraine among the most corrupt countries in the world. Last year, Transparency International placed Ukraine 120 out of 180 countries on its Corruption Perception Index. For a long time, economic scarcity, top-down control of the economy, combined with a lack of transparency, meant that getting anything done required what some Ukrainians call giving a grunt. In a way, corruption is almost part of the culture.
Ukrainians have this, you can call it post-Soviet or maybe some other word, attitude where like, okay, top politicians can steal money, but if we get something still in the end, it's okay.
So they're tolerant of it?
Yes, there was this level of tolerance as long as there is, you know, some visible leftovers for the rest of the country.
In territory controlled by the government, restrictions on the free expression of critical or unpopular opinions and on participation in peaceful assemblies on sensitive topics, as well as the safety of human rights defenders in Ukraine, were of concern.
Братик, ты живой? Блять. Девчат. Света, аптечку давай! Сзади лежит! Брат. Сука. Давай сюда, блядь!
Она что, поможет или что?
Что?
Иди сюда! Сереж!
Ёбаный рот!
Поехали, я тебя прошу, поехали, все быстрее!
Света, скорую!
Поехали! Ну какая скорая?
Скорую вызывай, блядь!
Да не поможет скорая!
Иди скорую машину, блядь, телефон возьми! Машину быстро! Голову!